Nuala McAllister was Lord Mayor of Belfast from 2017 to 2018. She's now a member of Northern Ireland's Legislative Assembly for North Belfast, where this attack happened. Thanks so much for taking the time to join us.
Good evening, Jim.
I wonder if you could tell us what the situation is now as we head into the evening hours there. Do you believe police have these protests, these attacks under control?
Well, as we currently speak, there are smaller number of protests in fewer locations across Belfast and Northern Ireland. Unfortunately, they're taking place, as you see on your screen there, in my constituency of North Belfast. The aim of the protesters in that video and at another location adjacent to that is to gain access to a hotel that is currently housing asylum seekers and refugees. I don't think it takes much thought to recognise what they want to do when they get there, because last night's protests were anything but peaceful, and the police are holding the line there in keeping those protesters back. It's really unfortunate because they're destroying their own communities and their own neighbourhoods, and they're not doing anything to further any cause of which they claim to speak for.
Yeah. This pattern of far-right groups, but other influencers, and we're seeing this now, such as Elon Musk, taking an attack like this, which is awful in its own right, as an excuse, really, to encourage broader protests against all immigrants and migrants. It's a well-established pattern. What is your response to those people right now who are fanning the flames? I mean, Elon Musk has a enormous following, and he's encouraging people to go out and protest loudly and consistently.
And I think they shoulder some of the responsibility of what has taken place in our streets tonight. Last night, we saw Elon Musk actually retweet locations of protests that were taking place across Northern Ireland. Whenever you know the troubles that Northern Ireland have already faced in the past 20, 30, and 40 years, everyone that has lived here, who has visited here, or even read any bit of information about here knows that our people have already suffered enough with violence like this on the street. Yeah. But the violence that took place last night is now targeted at an even smaller group of people. We had people in masked men banging down the doors of people who had different colour skin to burn them out. We had police and fire service run into their homes to try and rescue them and take them to a place of safety. We now in Northern Ireland in 2026 have displaced families who are already, in the most part, refugees or asylum seekers.
Yeah. CNN has spoken to immigrant families who are now afraid to simply send their children to school or just to leave their homes. Are they unsafe given this threat?
As an elected representative who has been on the ground all day today, yesterday, speaking with police, with neighbours, residents and ethnic minorities, I can't in good conscience tell all of them that they are safe because of what happened last night. I spoke to principals across my constituency in North Belfast today who themselves went to drive to the houses of those children and bring them to school, drive them back home to make sure that they're safe. But most of all, they simply just didn't show up because parents are too afraid. And there currently is a list that is doing the rounds on social media that is being platformed by far-right actors, a list of addresses of people who are from an ethnic minority background.
It was notable that the family of the victim, the Ogilvy family, the victim of the attack that sparked these protests, they have quite deliberately called for the violence to stop. And in a statement, they went on to say, "We have many migrants who make a deeply valuable contribution to our country. We do not want this terrible tragedy to be used to divide people or fuel hostility." I wonder if that message has impact in your view, given it's coming from the family of the person who suffered right at the start of all this.
I like to think it did have some level of impact, and it did touched a lot of people who have been calling this out for what it is. It's racist thuggery. And I do think that there were some people who wanted to protest and had peaceful intentions that actually saw that message, saw what you see in your scenes before you, and have taken a step back. But what is getting lost in this message of the rhetoric and hate that is being spread on social media is that this is about protecting our culture and our community here in Northern Ireland from people who are wielding knives, this knife attack that happened. And your viewers will probably not be aware, but just last week a man was sentenced to over 30 years in prison for the brutal stabbing of his partner. That was a white man, and there were no protests on the street. There was no rioting, there was no call to action whenever that man carried out his brutal attack on a woman. There have been many more attacks like that here in Northern Ireland and in Belfast, and it have been carried out by white men, and we don't see the scenes that we see today from people who claim that they're trying to protect our streets.
Yeah, well, it reveals the agenda, perhaps. Nuala McAllister, we appreciate you coming on, and we hope that your home finds peace.
Thank you.